So in this video, we'll talk about how to use the new oil filter from Harvest Right. You'll see it looks similar to the Brita water filter, but it is engineered to filter oil, so it has a different filtration system. We have our Harvest Right oil there, and either the standard oil pump or the Premier oil pump. Use just our Harvest Right oil and we'll filter it through the system the same way. With this Premier oil pump on the right here, the bright green one, we do have another model where it's the same as this pump, but you'll notice the sight glass, instead of that long rectangle, is a circle similar to the standard oil pump here on the left. So note those differences, but the concept is the exact same. You may also have on your Premier oil pump, that bright green one, you may have a different color demister cap on top, but again, concept is the same pump, motor, and everything. So I'll go ahead and show you with this Premier oil pump that I have how we would drain the oil, put it through the filtration system, and then determine if we can add that back oil back into the pump. We might have to top it off with some new oil, or if it's too dirty or whatnot, then we'll just do all new oil. So I also just grabbed some paper towels is the only other thing you might need. Just anytime we're usually changing oil or anything, I just get a little messy. So we'll go ahead and start draining it. I'll show you this filtration system here. You can pour the oil right in here, and it will go through the filter and come out the bottom filtered. I'm going to show you the little filter. We do have replacements of these that you can purchase, but this will just collect the oil and it will drain through as filtered oil. So we'll put that back in, and you can either just put it through that hole, or I just find it easier to just do it open like this. And then the oil will drain much faster if you open the demister right here. So this is where you'll put new oil in. But if you open that and then just put this under and open, then it will all drain out here. So right now it's filling up in here, and then it will go through the filtration and come out the bottom once it gets filtered. Now I'll just close that. I'll show you this here. So it's just caught up in the top here, and it will slowly drain down the bottom. You can see it dripping here. And there's still plenty to go up here. So we will let this sit and continue filtering through our oil. And then one thing to know with those cartridges, those little filter cartridges, we do have replacements, and it just depends on how often you're running your freeze dryer and filtering your oil, how clean your oil is when you're filtering it, for how long that filter cartridge will last. So there's not really a definite, lifetime of those filters. But a good indication that you need a new filter, or it's time to replace it, is if it's no longer draining through like this is. So you'll see how this is just kind of streaming just a little bit through and dripping, and our clean oil is coming out the bottom. Once that filter is completely saturated and needs to be replaced, you'll notice it'll just be clogged. It won't filter your oil through like this one does. See that drip flow there? So it will just be clogged. It'll just sit there in the top basin and never come down to the bottom. That's how you know you need a new one. Obviously, the more you're filtering your oil, the more batches you're running, or even the dirtier your oil might be, you will have to replace that more often. But we do have them in packs of 3 that you can buy from us at Harvest Right. So quick update on how this filtering is going. Still just kind of dripping continuously right there, and a nice clean oil down here. The oil that we were filtering really wasn't dirty, so I imagine we can put most of this just right back into the pump when we're done filtering it, and this has done its job of collecting those little particulates and things that were in the oil. So let's see how that is dripping. Kind of a slow process, but it's doing its job. So like I said, if it is not dripping at all and it's just clogged and stuck up here and up in this top basin, then that's how you'd know you need a new filter. But ours is brand new and it's dripping nicely. So this is completely drained. You can see it's empty and our oil is done being filtered. Down here is the rest, all of our clean filtered oil. It's still very clear and clean. This has caught any little particles or any dirty stuff from the oil. The rest of the clean oil is down here. If there is some cloudiness to it and some water, I would just let this sit for a few more hours, or even put this in your freezer so that the water portion will freeze to ice and the rest of our clear oil we can just pour right back into our pump. This is really clear, there's really no water in it, so we don't have to do that, but that's a good way to get the last little bit of filtration, get the water out of the oil, let it sit, let it separate, freeze it. If you filtered your oil so many times that it's that kind of water portion is just kind of gunky in here and it won't separate, but it's kind of just globbing together, that's a good indication that you should just start over with new oil and then begin, filtering it after that goes through your batches. So this is all total clear, and we can just take this and put it back in our pump. Make sure this is closed, of course. Closed all the way that way. And this just has a little pour spout that you can just pour it right out the top and into your basin. I forgot to mention, this was 500 milliliters. So that's how much this pump will hold. Just over 2 cups is 500 milliliters to get it right in between that min and max line.
I know what you mean.
So 500 milliliters, just over 2 cups for the Premier oil pump. And I'm starting to see, oh no. I'm even just gonna take this off. And just pour that clean oil in here. And that did catch a bit of the dirty oil, so we're not quite there. I'm going to take some of my new oil to top it off, just so I'm right in between that min and max. Let's see. I just want to measure how much I'm using, so I'm going to use this one because it shows me the milliliters. So we'll just start with, we'll try 50 milliliters and see where we're at. Okay, so that's 50. There's 100, and we're getting almost to the middle line where I started. So that would actually be 600 milliliters. So I'll type that into the description just so there's no confusion, that this pump holds a total of, and this is right in between min and max if you're filling it right to the middle, 600 milliliters of oil. So, and that's just because we had some that, you know, was caught in the filter that we wouldn't put back in. So our total volume, 600 milliliters for this one. So then you'll just put your demister, of course, back on your cap, back on. One more quick reminder with this pump, you want the gas ballast open. And then you're ready to run another batch. With the standard oil pump, honestly, you do the exact same thing. So we'll put this back in here. And we'll just filter this one. So that's drained in here. And it's just starting to drip down here, you see that? So it does take a minute, so I wouldn't recommend holding it like I am, but putting it on a table or something that you can set the oil basin on and have the pump draining into it. You can see it's already drained almost out of the sight glass, but there's a lot more to go, so, and there it is draining. You can see this one's a little bit darker than that other oil that we started with. We'll see what it looks like when it's filtered down to the bottom. Update on how the standard oil pump is draining. This oil definitely had a lot more uses out of it. And it's a lot darker, but it's still draining and filtering. So we'll just let that keep going. So this standard oil pump is done filtering that oil, and you can actually see in this one all that gross stuff that it caught. So this is why we filter our oil. You don't want all that crud sitting in your pump. So here it is. We're just about at 500 milliliters again. I don't know if you can you see that? 500 milliliters. So we'll see once we put it back in our pump how much we need to add so that we know what our total volume is. So I'll go ahead and add that back into our pump. It's been sitting for a while. This one is darker in color, but it's still that oil amber color. There's no like gunky stuff in it. So I'll just pour that back in the pump, and then we'll see how much we need to add. So we get our total volume of what the standard oil pump holds. And it's always easiest to use a filter, I think, with these pumps, to fill it back in like this. Make sure this is closed. And then we'll just watch that sight glass and see when it shows up. So that was 500 milliliters, and it's actually just perfectly right on that oil fill level. So 500 milliliters, just over 2 cups is what the standard oil pump holds from empty to right up to that oil fill level. And then we'll put that oil cap back on, and we're ready to do another batch.